Love in a forbidden galaxy. Human man worships alien woman. The raid was supposed to last 20 minutes. 30, tops, if the Xeylan ship's firewall was anything like last time. Basically a glorified CAPTCHA with extra neon. Commander Darius Voss crouched behind a metallic growth that pulsed like it had a heartbeat, muttering to himself, "Why is everything on this ship vaguely moist?" The answer came, unhelpfully, from Lieutenant Hane over comms. "Because it's biomechanical. It's alive. You've read the dossier." "Yes, and I read Frankenstein too." "Didn't mean I wanted to crawl inside it." The mission had started clean. Stealth drop from the Vanguard Fury, breach the Xeylan perimeter on Deck 7, grab the quantum logs, and get out before anyone noticed a human-shaped blip in their harmony field. But the moment Darius touched the access panel, the wall sang at him in F minor and swallowed his hand up to the elbow. Not great, the floor had flipped upside down and escorted him, gently but insistently, into a chamber shaped like the inside of a seashell. Now he sat there, damp, mildly offended, and with a persistent smell of cinnamon clinging to his armor. He tapped his ear. "Lieutenant, status?" Static answered, "Of course." He stood, brushing off glowing pollen from his knees. The chamber lit up, responding to his movement like a shy host, guiding him forward with pulses of bioluminescence. The corridor beyond curved and curled like it couldn't decide which direction was up. Every few meters something hummed or whispered or clicked, as though the ship had opinions and wasn't shy about them. Then came the voice, soft, accented, amused. "You don't walk like a Xeylan." Darius froze, the corridor ahead and revealing her. Kaelith stood barefoot on the iridescent floor, robes flowing like liquid night. Her ears, long and tapered, twitched once as if sensing his surprise. Her eyes, galaxies in miniature, studied him with cool curiosity. "I've never seen a Terran up close," she said. "You're taller than I expected, and wetter." "Blame your damp ship," he said, straightening. "It grabbed me." "That's how it says hello. Must be popular at parties." She tilted her head, as though considering whether to be amused. A tiny smile ghosted her lips. "You're very calm for a prisoner." "I'm not a prisoner. I'm just temporarily unscheduled. Your definition of imprisonment is fascinating." "Commander Darius Voss," he said, offering a nod instead of a hand, remembering the last time he tried to shake hands with a Xeylan diplomat and nearly caused an interstellar incident. "Queen Kaelith," she replied, with a regal nod that somehow conveyed equal parts nobility, wariness, and the faintest edge of sarcasm. "I know who you are," he said, "and I know who you are. War hero, voice in 100 Terran broadcasts, the man who burned the Xeylan outpost on Delmos 3 with surgical precision." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "Yet here you are, quoting bad mission briefings." "Surgical is generous. We meant to disable their comms and accidentally blew up a sculpture garden. Intelligence swore it was a weapons depot. Typical Terran confusion. Art and danger often look alike to your kind." "We think art is dangerous." She stepped closer. He didn't move. Her scent was oddly metallic, like ozone and lavender. The silence stretched. "You're not afraid of me," she said. "No," he replied. "Should I be?" "You're standing on a living ship, surrounded by beings your species calls abominations. Your people believe we communicate with fungus and sing to our machines." "Do you?" "Yes, but that's hardly the point." The corridor responded to her voice, lighting behind her like a loyal pet. She turned. "Come. If you're going to be my guest/hostage, you should be fed." "Do I get a say in the slash?" "No." He followed, boots squelching against the floor. "Any chance we can disable the moist feature?" "No, didn't think so." She led him through chambers that pulsed with life, walls that breathed, ceiling tendrils that receded politely, rooms that adjusted temperature based on who entered. At one point, a plant offered him a steaming bowl of something purple that hissed softly. "Is it safe?" he asked. Kaelith took a sip. "Only if you don't insult its aroma." He took a cautious taste. It was sweet, then bitter, then sweet again. It's like regret in smoothie form. "The flavor profile of our best vintages," she said, deadpan. They sat in a semicircle chamber where the walls projected views of stars bending around the ship's wake. Kaelith lounged with unguarded ease as though centuries of war didn't weigh on her spine. Darius sat stiffly as though expecting to be vaporized at any moment. She sipped. "You look disappointed. I expected you to be more tyrannical." "More tentacles?" "I didn't say that, but you thought it." Only statistically. 87% of Terran propaganda includes tentacles. She laughed, a sound that startled even herself. He blinked. That was almost a real laugh. I had one installed. I think I like you better without the death threats. That can be arranged. They lapsed into silence, watching the stars. Darius risked a glance. She didn't look like a queen from the vids. No glowing crown, no scepter, just presence. A kind of gravity that bent things around her. So why haven't you thrown me in a cell, he asked. I'm curious. Dangerous thing, she smiled. The most dangerous. A vibration thrummed beneath them. The lights dimmed, then glowed green. What was that? Darius asked, instantly alert. Someone's found out I didn't vaporize you. Oh good. Is that dinner or an assassination attempt? Why not both? He sighed. Next time I'm accepting the paperwork desk job. Kaelith stood. Come. I think it's time we see if the galaxy is ready to meet its most improbable alliance. I haven't agreed to anything. You're still alive. That's agreement enough. Win arguments like that? Yes. He followed her into the pulsating corridors, unsure if he was walking into diplomacy or doom. Probably both. He couldn't tell if he was betraying his species or finally seeing clearly for the first time. And somehow, absurdly, he couldn't stop smiling. Darius woke to the sensation of something tickling his ear. He batted at it groggily, then realized it wasn't a bug. The pillow had grown a tentacle. He sat bolt upright. No, thank you. We're not doing this. The room reacted by pulling the tentacle back into the bed, which rippled like a mildly offended jellyfish. Kaelith's voice came over the comm node embedded in the wall. You're late for morning orientation. I was attacked by my mattress. It was giving you a massage. It went for my ear. Ah, then it likes you. He dragged himself out of bed, which promptly made a slurping sound of farewell, and wandered toward the glowing archway that opened when he approached. Everything on the ship seemed to respond to thought, emotion, or perhaps pure spite. The walls pulsed in different colors depending on his mood, or digestive health, he wasn't sure. Yesterday, after eating what Kaelith called a luminous pear, he'd glowed from the nose for 3 hours. The hallway led him to a large chamber where Kaelith stood in front of a floating map. It wasn't a hologram. It was alive, a jellyfish-like creature displaying stellar charts across its translucent body. Kaelith gestured without looking. You're late. I was being massaged against my will. I'll tell the bed to be more restrained. Please do. She flicked a hand at the map. This is where we are, edge of the Oracle Span, just past the remnants of the Varrock Rift. Your people call this area Forbidden Space. Mostly because our ships keep disappearing here. Yes, it's rude to trespass. He squinted at the drifting stars on the map creature's body. So what are we doing here? Hiding from both of our governments. Right? Casual fugitive bonding. Love that for us. Kaelith stepped closer. I've granted you limited movement around the ship. Try not to get into any arguments with the bionodes. They hold grudges. That's comforting. You'll be assigned a guide. Is it furry? She's called Telly. She's 6 feet of sentient light and smells like nostalgia. Try not to flirt. A beam of refracted energy emerged from a nearby pod and materialized into a vaguely humanoid shape that looked like someone had sculpted a dancer from sunlight. It bowed politely. I am Telly, it said in a voice that echoed like it came from a canyon made of wind chimes. I will now monitor your every move. Darius blinked. That's not creepy at all. It's meant to be comforting. Still creepy. Telly shimmered. Please follow. Kaelith gave him a subtle look, half warning, half amusement. Try not to insult any sacred rituals this time. I thought it was a salad. It was my ancestors' memory crystal. Then maybe don't serve it in a bowl. Telly led him down a corridor that spiraled upward. They passed rooms where floating stones sang lullabies to themselves, chambers filled with tiny floating creatures whispering in unison, and one room that was just screaming. What's in there? He asked, pointing. Therapy, Telly replied. They arrived at a circular space filled with floating rings. Each ring contained an environment, tiny, suspended ecosystems. One showed a snowstorm over blue fields. Another revealed a desert under twin suns. A third looked like a dinner party on fire. This is the Hall of Perspectives, Telly explained. Each ring is a memory archive. Touching one imparts experience. Some are pleasant, others less so. Darius peered into one. A group of Xeylan children were laughing and chasing a floating squid through a glowing forest. Cute, he said. Telly nodded. That one's marked joyful. It's been in high demand since the last war. He touched it lightly. A sudden warmth flooded his chest. For a split second, he felt 10 years old, running barefoot through soft moss, ears twitching as he dodged between trees that giggled when touched. When the feeling faded, he stumbled back. That was weirdly moving. Empathy is a form of armament, Telly said. Right. Hug grenades. Makes sense. They continued onward, eventually arriving at a hangar where several small crafts hovered like lazy stingrays. Kaelith waited near one, arms crossed. I thought you should learn to pilot one of our vessels. I barely passed my Terran flight exams. This is easier. It responds to emotion. Oh, great. So I'll crash if I'm hangry? Possibly. Try not to be. She climbed into the front of the glider. It immediately adjusted to her form, wrapping tendrils around her arms with affectionate squeaks. Darius climbed in after her. Nothing squeaked. One tendril poked his side disapprovingly. I think it knows I'm not you. You'll grow on it, or it'll eat you. 50-50. The vessel shot out of the hangar and into open space. Darius grabbed the side, heart hammering. Is it supposed to move like a drunken eel? You're thinking too much. Relax. I'm a human in a psychic jellyfish pod trying not to be jettisoned into the void. Relaxing is low on the list. The ship curved into a graceful arc, stars spinning around them. Kaelith guided them toward a floating ruin. An ancient Xeylan monastery suspended in space, she pointed. This is what we're trying to protect. History. Culture. Memory. Darius gazed at the broken towers, the drifting platforms overgrown with luminous vines. He felt something unfamiliar rise in him, a strange mixture of guilt and awe. I used to think you were monsters, he said quietly. We thought you were loud, angry apes with excellent marketing. I mean, not wrong. They floated in silence, the glider gently orbiting the ruins. Kaelith said, the more we learn, the more we understand what war steals. Not just lives, perspective, music, jokes. Darius looked at her. You just said jokes. Are you allowed to have those? She arched a long eyebrow. I am royalty. I'm allowed to be hilarious. He laughed, unexpected and real. Telly's voice broke the moment. Incoming message from the Outer Rim. Unidentified Terran vessel has entered forbidden space, requesting your identification code. Darius swore. That's one of ours. Kaelith's expression tightened. Then we'd better prepare to be very convincing or very fast. Darius turned to her. Or we do something worse. She frowned. Worse? We tell the truth. She blinked. Then she laughed again. Yes, that might be the most dangerous idea yet. The calm ping sounded again, this time louder and more judgmental, like a digital mother-in-law. This is Terran Vessel Resolute Whisper. You are in restricted airspace. Identify yourself or prepare to be scanned and possibly insulted. Darius stared at the blinking light. They brought the Whisper? Great. Captain Harrow hates me. Said I once called his beard a low-orbit algae field. Kaelith leaned back in the pilot's cradle. Did you? It was a compliment, in a rustic kind of way. Telly shimmered into existence beside them, her light form twitching nervously. Their scan arrays are activating. You have approximately 112 seconds before they recognize your signature. I could fake being a hostage again, Darius offered. Kaelith shook her head. Not this time. We'll use the Rift Gate. The what now? Telly flickered. The Rift Gate, a dormant Xeylan-era teleportation construct originally designed for ceremonial migrations and emergency desert evacuations. That last part sounded fake. It is not. A sentient pudding once consumed 3 planets. Darius blinked. I need footnotes for this galaxy. Kaelith tapped a series of pressure nodes along the glider's core. The ship shuddered, then hummed with deep resonance. A tunnel of black and violet opened before them like a yawning mouthful of stars. We're going through that? Yes. Any chance we'll survive? 58%. 72 if you hold your breath and think peaceful thoughts. Like tax audits? Kaelith didn't answer. The glider leapt forward, slipping into the rift gate like a needle through silk. Through silk. They emerged in silence. Then Darius coughed loudly and announced, I'm not dead. Mark that down. Not dead. Kaelith was already scanning the area. The space around them was oddly serene, deep blue streaked with strands of silver energy that drifted like jellyfish tentacles. A ring of broken satellites hovered lazily nearby. We're in the exile belt, she said. Old territory, not mapped on Terran charts. Because it's dangerous? Because it's boring. They docked at a station shaped like a spiral shell, clearly ancient and mostly asleep. The docking bay opened after Kaelith sang 3 discordant notes into a receiver. Darius raised an eyebrow. All your passwords are music? Would you prefer numeric codes? I forget those. The docking clamps gripped them gently, like a grandmother's hug or a persistent sofa. Inside, the station was dim and echoing. A lone figure approached, tall and robed in layers that shifted colors with every step. Kaelith, the figure said, voice deep and gravelly, you've returned with a human. Don't sound so disappointed, Darius said. I'm charming. The figure sighed. You brought him here on purpose? Kaelith nodded. He needs to see what's been hidden. They followed the figure, whose name Darius learned was Szeth, to a chamber filled with floating crystalline nodes. Each pulsed with captured memory, humming low like bees contemplating existence. Darius reached for one, but Kaelith caught his wrist. That one contains the last moments of the Ilari peace accord. Best not to touch unless you enjoy nausea and diplomatic failure. I already have both. She released him. Szeth waved a hand, and a central node descended. It opened with a hiss and revealed an ancient map, 2 spirals overlapping Terran and Xeylan sectors drawn in light. This, Szeth said, is proof. The war was orchestrated. Darius squinted. By who? Counselors, on both sides, generals, bankers, minds behind your brightest media. A long-term cycle. War generates unity. Unity generates compliance and profit. Kaelith stepped forward. We found records here. Transmissions between high-ranking Terrans and Xeylan overseers. Code words for shipments, coordinated border skirmishes, fabricated incidents. Darius stared. You're telling me every soldier who died, every battle, was staged? No, Kaelith said. The blood was real, but the reasons were lies. Silence hung thick. Even the station seemed to dim in mourning. Darius sat on a low bench grown from the floor. Why me? Why show me this? Kaelith didn't answer immediately. She sat beside him, ears twitching faintly. Because you question things. Most Terran officers don't. You joke when you're afraid. You treat sentient chairs like people. That chair was warm and supportive. Szeth cleared his throat. We need someone from the Terran side to leak this. If the truth comes from the enemy, it's propaganda. If it comes from within, Darius sighed. They'll brand me a traitor. Kaelith looked at him. Or a savior. Or both. Later, they wandered the station's observatory, watching a distant gas giant spin lazily across the horizon. Darius broke the silence. I'm going to do it. Kaelith turned. I didn't ask you to. You didn't have to. My people deserve to know, even if it wrecks everything. You're a strange human, he nodded. I once ate glue on a dare. She laughed. I almost ruled an empire. Guess we both peaked early. They stood in quiet again. Then Telly's voice echoed from the comm node. Apologies, but a Terran scout drone just entered the outer perimeter. It's broadcasting a signal, repeatedly. Darius frowned. What signal? Telly answered. A ping, encrypted, but the rhythm is unmistakable. Kaelith blinked. Morse? Darius's eyes widened. It's my crew, Hanai. She's looking for me. Kaelith's voice was calm. Then we move quickly. Once they find us, this place will not be safe. Let's give them something worth finding, he said. Kaelith smiled faintly. Always so dramatic. Only when galactic truth is involved. They returned to the glider, their next destination already forming in the stars ahead. Truth had weight, but so did loyalty, and love, and absurdity. Darius had no idea how it would all end, but at least now he had a plan. Sort of. Maybe. Probably. The glider's interface was humming nervously, which Darius had learned meant it was either anticipating trouble or composing a song about it. He leaned over the dashboard and muttered, Please don't start a musical number. We're on a schedule. Kaelith adjusted their course through the thin magnetic corridors between folded dimensions, occasionally singing a low phrase to keep the ship aligned. The space around them shifted colors, green to deep violet to something that could only be described as existential beige. Where exactly are we going? Darius asked, gripping his seat as a spatial ripple nudged the ship sideways like a drunk friend. Kaelith kept her gaze forward, to an old friend, one who still has access to the central relay towers buried in the Karn Belt. Karn Belt. Sounds cozy. It's surrounded by feral mining drones and unstable gravity nodes. So less cozy, more likely to explode? Yes, he sighed. You have a gift for understatement. I once called planetary bombardment a mild overreaction. You're a poet. As the ship approached the Karn Belt, The stars blinked out one by one. In their place, jagged chunks of shattered moons, rusted satellite husks, and spinning blackened panels. A mining facility in the distance looked half devoured by time and teeth. "Did the drones do all this?" Darius asked. "Some of it," Kaelith replied. "Some of it was politics." Their glider weaved through the debris, avoiding floating wreckage that occasionally tried to scan them or bite them. A shredded Xeylan mining station drifted nearby, trailing solar panels like tangled ribbon. Kaelith opened a comm channel. "Torin," she said calmly, "if you're still alive, don't shoot." A moment passed, then static, then a voice, gravelly, hoarse, and unmistakably irritated. "If it isn't the galaxy's most traitorous royal and her Terran boy toy." Darius frowned. "That better not be official." Kaelith smiled faintly. Torin always was blunt. A docking tube latched onto their hull with a metallic thunk. Inside, the airlock opened to reveal a man who looked like a disgraced librarian crossed with an experimental cyborg. Half his skull was covered in a chrome lattice that blinked in frustration. "Torin," Kaelith said smoothly. "Kaelith." He squinted at Darius. "And the human. I saw your face in a Terran broadcast once. They called you the Lost Blade. What'd you lose, your pride?" "My tolerance for smug half-robots, apparently." Torin snorted and turned, leading them through a labyrinth of flickering hallways that hummed with old data ghosts. "You brought me something?" he asked over his shoulder. "We need access to the Xeylan Terran relay archives. You still have the cipher keys?" "I kept them under my pillow," he replied, "next to my fondness for this broken galaxy." He led them to a chamber filled with data roots, living strands of memory entwined through glowing cubes. At the center was a node that looked like it could sneeze out a black hole if it got annoyed. Kaelith stepped forward. "We have transmission logs. Evidence of collusion between Terran and Xeylan command. If we can broadcast it through the central relay, it will reach every major system before they can suppress it." Torin stared at her. "And you think anyone will believe a Terran war hero and a disgraced queen?" Darius stepped up. "No, but they'll listen. And if they hear even half of it, it might be enough to shake things loose." Torin looked him up and down. "You sound like someone who's been punched in the face by hope." "Twice," Darius said, "and kicked by reality." Torin grunted. "Fine, but if the drones wake up, I'm blaming your optimism." He tapped into the system. The memory roots surged with energy. Old transmissions, encrypted, overlapping, fragmented, began to unravel. Voices layered over each other, Terran officers discussing coordinated resource tension, Xeylan priests reciting shipment codes in reverse, whispers of staged invasions and false flag operations. Kaelith sorted through them. "This one, play it." A voice filled the room. Terran Admiral Nera speaking calmly. "We'll send the scout through Sector J9. Make sure the Xeylan patrol is waiting. A minor skirmish, enough for broadcast. Keep losses under 100. Public needs fire, not ashes." Silence followed. Darius breathed out. "They made war a performance." Kaelith nodded. "And we were the actors who didn't read the script." Torin initiated the upload. Data pulsed outward, jumping from one satellite shard to the next. As it reached the outer relay ring, an alarm blared. "Of course," Torin muttered. "The drones are waking up." Outside, dozens of old mining units flickered to life, their sensor arrays red and angry. They began to swarm. Darius sprinted back toward the glider. "Are they angry because of the data?" "No," Kaelith said. "They're angry because we parked in their lunch zone." Torin shouted from behind, "I'll hold them off. You finish the upload." Kaelith turned, her voice tight. "You'll die." He grinned. "I've died twice already. It's fine." She grabbed his arm briefly. "Thank you." "Don't make it sentimental." Darius and Kaelith launched from the docking port as plasma fire erupted behind them. Mining lasers slashed at the facility. The glider banked hard, Kaelith steering through gaps no sane pilot would attempt. "Is the data out?" Darius yelled. Kaelith checked the pulse. "Sent. Distributed to over 400 receivers. Even the vending satellites have it." "Great. Maybe someone will buy a soda and get enlightened." Back in open space, the ship stabilized. Telly reappeared, slightly singed. The upload reached Terran frequencies. Response inbound. Darius slumped in his seat. "That's good, right?" Telly tilted her head. "Terran High Command has issued a warrant for your arrest, and also suggested you have developed poor taste in company." He looked at Kaelith. "Rude." She smiled faintly. "You're officially a galactic disappointment," he sighed. "At least I'm consistent." They coasted in silence. Around them, stars blinked softly, watching, waiting. Kaelith spoke at last. There's no going back now. Nope, they'll hunt you. They already were. She turned toward him. I'm sorry, don't be. I finally did something that mattered. She was quiet for a moment. You're still annoying. You're still taller than me. They looked at each other. Then, together, they laughed. Tired, reckless, a little unhinged. The kind of laugh that meant they were alive. The reception was held on an asteroid resort shaped like a spiraling seashell, orbiting a binary star system that constantly argued about brightness. The guest list was half politicians, half diplomats, and one sentient towel who had somehow become a cult figure on Xeylan's social media. Darius adjusted the collar of his borrowed robes. Why do Xeylan formal outfits always feel like I'm being slowly hugged by a polite octopus? Kaelith didn't look up from her data scroll. Because they are. Your collar is alive. Try not to sweat. It interprets moisture as aggression. He pulled at it anyway. The collar let out a passive-aggressive sigh. The treaty signing was scheduled for mid-cycle. Somehow, against all odds, the truth had shaken enough foundations to make both sides blink. Protests erupted, leadership changed, the galaxy collectively screamed into its pillow, and then someone in a very expensive suit said the word reconciliation on 12 broadcasts at once. Darius leaned toward Kaelith. Remind me why they wanted me here again? You're a symbol now, of peace, of courage, of wildly irresponsible behavior that miraculously worked. I'm still banned from 7 Terran systems. You should be proud. That's difficult to achieve. She handed him a small data crystal. Final transmission logs. You might want to review them before the ceremony. He held it carefully. No traps? Only if you consider self-awareness a trap. He slipped the crystal into his pocket. I already have a lifetime subscription to existential crises. Telly approached, shimmering in ceremonial gold. Kaelith, Darius, your presence is requested in the Garden of Agreements. Please avoid stepping on the thought lilies. They're dramatic. They walked through halls adorned with hybrid art. Xeylan lightscapes beside Terran sculptures, murals that sang folk songs in 3 languages, and one interactive exhibit that accidentally recited Terran tax codes when touched. That one had a warning sign now. In the garden, representatives gathered in rings of polished stone and floating chairs. The peace document hovered in the center, slowly rotating, displaying its clauses in multiple dialects. A Xeylan priestess began the invocation in rhythmic tones that made the air vibrate. Darius leaned closer to Kaelith. Is this the part where I say something wise and deeply moving? No, this is the part where you don't fall over while standing completely still. I trained for this. When it came time for signatures, Kaelith stepped forward first, placing her palm against the scroll. A pulse of light traveled through it. Darius followed. He stared at the scroll, then at the crowd. People who'd once tried to kill him, people whose cousins he might have fought, people now watching in stunned, awkward hope. He signed. Applause erupted. Xeylan and human voices mingled in disorganized cheer. Somewhere, a small robotic flute played a melody that might have been improvised or might have been broken. Later, after the speeches, the handshakes, and the incident with the ambassador who mistook a Xeylan dessert for a ceremonial artifact, Darius found himself on a quiet balcony with Kaelith. The stars were unusually still. Or maybe he was finally still enough to notice. She turned to him. You're not the man who boarded my ship 5 cycles ago. I was more explosion-oriented back then. You still are. You just aim better now. He smiled. And you're not the queen I thought I'd meet. Cold? Ruthless? Scary and dramatic. I've kept the drama. You have. They stood in silence for a while. He said, what now? Now the slow part. Meetings. Healing, arguments over resource shares and food labels. Diplomacy, she nodded, tedious, infuriating, necessary diplomacy. And us? She raised an eyebrow. Is that a romantic question or a logistical one? Both, definitely both. Kaelith gave the smallest smile. You're staying, aren't you? I've got nowhere else to go. Terran Command has me on a strongly discouraged from returning list. Mine just calls you a questionable influence. I should get business cards made. They laughed, tired but content. Telly appeared beside them, now shaped like a glowing spiral. Pardon the interruption, but I've compiled a list of post-peace activities you might consider. Gardening, teaching, hosting a food program. Darius raised a brow. I'm being offered a cooking show? Several planets have requested it. Your chaos is compelling. I did once set fire to a salad. I remember, Kaelith said fondly. It screamed, he chuckled. Maybe peace won't be so boring after all. Behind them, the stars turned slowly. Not in celebration, not in judgment, just turning as they always had, but this time maybe a little more hopefully. The end.